Warning. This episode contains foul language and discussions about drug use, depression, and murder.
Hi, weirdos. You are listening to Keep It Weird, the podcast for all things strange and unusual, creepy and crawly, supernatural and sassy, and sometimes a little Cajun. Each week we get to sit down and chat about something weird, and this week is no exception because it's the second week of October and we are going to one of the spookiest places in America. Previously on Keep It Weird, we've introduced you to the Rougarou, a hairy wolf-like beast that stalks the swamps, Jacquez St Germain, who never seemed to eat, just drank red wine from a cup, and even Madame Delphine LaLaurie, a woman so evil her home is supposedly still haunted hundreds of years later. Today we're heading back across the Mississippi River into the Bayou for a deeper look at Louisiana. My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host, Lauren.
Hello, weirdos.
And today we are joined by a very special guest, an absolutely hilarious comedian, one of my all-time favorites to watch, and an actress whose recent credits include Dead to Me, The Purge, and you saw her tending bar in American Horror Story, Red Tide. It's Jen Kober.
What's up, weirdos?
Hi, Jen.
I fucking loved seeing your name in that American Horror Story font. I'm not gonna
Girl,
lie.
You and me both.
Yeah, was
Do you
that
like
the
that
best
show?
feeling?
I do not like that show.
Okay.
I did not. I watched my name in the opening credits and I was like, right on.
Right, peace.
And then I just was done.
And then you're out. Peace out.
My scenes weren't terribly bloody, so I was able to like fast forward to them somewhat.
Right, yeah. The bar was pretty tame.
You looked great in that bar.
Excuse me, thank you. Listen, I was one night we were filming and the director says, Cue the waitress, and I go, I'm the manager, because that was my role title, was manager, and I screamed it back at him, and I thought he was gonna fall out of his chair. He was laughing so hard, but I mean, like there had to be some levity with all. It was so
heavy.
So it's very, very heavy, and but it was lovely to work with most of those people.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Well, good. The majority.
The majority of the people. I think that's what I love about American Horror Story, though, is that it is very heavy, very dark, but so gay.
So gay.
So it
I
makes
know,
it
like it
nice
doesn't,
and light.
That's what I kept thinking is like, can you believe that the same mind that created Glee created
Made
this? You know what I mean?
It doesn't match up.
And then I'm watching Impeachment at the same time, and I'm like,
Right.
he also did this. Like it's so. That man's brain is to be admired and revered.
Seriously.
He is a brilliant creator.
He
so.
can really
Impressive.
do it all.
Yes.
Gotta give it to him.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know about you. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a comedian and an actor
Yes.
and a writer, and I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Lake Charles.
I live here in the beautiful Santa Monica now because I'm on TV. So, so it's been a minute for me. I haven't been back to Louisiana a lot because of all the. I don't know if y'all heard about this plague.
Yeah.
It's
I
not.
heard
They don't
something
really
about
believe it's happening in Louisiana.
Sure.
It's a hoax there, but it's a very powerful hoax that's killing people.
Yeah, it's
So
a very
it's-
much like voodoo.
yeah,
Yes.
so,
Extremely powerful.
you know, people down there are so much more ready to believe that someone died from like a spirit
Right.
overtaking them than like
Then a virus.
Possessed.
a virus that they just didn't wear a mask for. So.
Right. Classic South and Midwest. I mean, I'm from Southern Illinois, so it's
Which
a little
might as well
different.
be the South.
Might as well
Seriously.
be.
It
yeah.
might as well be.
It is.
Be the South.
Southern Illinois absolutely feels like
There's
the
a Cracker Barrel very near your hometown.
Hell yeah, there is.
That I stop at all the time because I would drive from Louisiana up to Chicago. I went to college in Chicago, so I'd make that drive a million times. And there's a Cracker Barrel down there. And while I was in the Cracker Barrel, the girl says to me, I ordered a cheeseburger, and she says, "You want maters on that?" And I was like, I'm sorry, what? You want maters on that? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the word.
Is that a regional
maters? Like maters? Like lettuce and maters? I go, are you saying tomatoes? Because a mater was and then when she asked me if I wanted a potato, she said taters. So I just call that the land of maters and taters.
Maters and taters.
Maters and taters.
We don't have time to say the full word. We got places to be. We got people to see.
Life is short.
Busy.
Life is short.
Life is
Get
short.
to the point.
And language is tricky. So
Maters.
I just was, we have, because I always say Louisiana, and people are always like, that's how I can tell you're from there, because you say Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I get it. The extra syllables are unnecessary, but.
Do you know what our thing is that's weird?
What?
We don't say to be, so we'll say my hair needs washed, or my hair needs brushed. Or my car needs washed. My clothes need washed.
Yeah.
And we didn't even, her and she's from Illinois too. We didn't know each other there.
Just from like smack dab in the middle. But
and we didn't notice this. And then Joe's like the grammar police.
Of course
and he's like, when the cat would come up and I'd be like, Gabby wants held. And he's like, that's not a sentence. And I'm like, it is
not how people
where
speak.
I come from.
You know what's so funny is
time.
My ex, who still lives down there in the middle of a swamp, like a crawfish pond, literally. Every time she'd see somebody or something funny or what, she'd go, look her.
Look her.
She never said look at whatever. She'd be like, look this one.
Look
like, you know what I mean? Just
no time to say
so
at.
I get it. Sometimes you leave out words. That's part of it.
Which
can
is
get
so
you into
funny
trouble.
because it's such a slow life compared to, say, Los Angeles, New York City,
Yeah. There's no hustle
Chicago.
and bustle. You should have all the time.
You know what it is? We're hot. We're
so
hot.
hot.
You're
so
sweating
hot,
and
it's
humidity.
Everything feels so heavy. Like just one extra syllable is like
it's too much. It'll break my back.
I can't.
Don't make me say it.
Don't make me say to be.
We're just looking for the quickest way to communicate to you what we're doing.
What we need.
Yeah.
Do you say Nolans? I can't even say it. That was a terrible New Orleans. So you even put another syllable than I've heard. I feel like some people just are straight Nolans.
Yeah. Yeah.
New Orleans.
But and I say Louisville.
Louisville.
For Louisville
Sounds
and
like
Louisville. And there's a couple of spots in Alabama that you got to know a little bit of Native American language to pronounce.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just there's so many influences in the South, right?
Right.
Like what happened was white people invaded the Northeast, right?
Yeah.
And trickled.
Everybody else, the brown people were like, it is cold here. Let's go find some warm weather like we're used to. And they all went south. So the South, while being incredibly segregated, like so much of the country, is also there is diversity there.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of integration of diversity there.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's plenty of good people from everywhere. I mean, you go to New Orleans, there's a huge Filipino community there.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, what? When did this
Where'd you guys come from?
What? You know, like you go to Houston, there's a huge Vietnamese population there. I used to go to this place in Houston and get one of those big banh mi sandwiches, those Vietnamese banh mi. Oh,
that's so good.
It was huge. It was bigger than any foot long at the Subway. It was ginormous on like a loaf of French bread. It was $3. Oof. It was $3.
So we like
this wasn't like in the 90s. This was like a year ago when I was there. Like, they're just these huge pockets of, diversity in the South that what happens is because they don't feel accepted by the white people that are there. They kind of stick to themselves. And so they have these little communities where they're speaking their language, they're cooking their food, they're doing their whatever. And they've got little sections of town, you know, and it's, while I don't think it's ideal, it certainly is delicious.
Oh,
yeah.
Hell yeah.
It really does help with the food scene. Yeah.
Eat well when you're there.
And it really helps to know exactly where to go to get that food.
Yes. It does help. Like this neighborhood.
You wouldn't think that. Every time I would go to Texas, I'd be like, give me some barbecue. Let's find some Tex-Mex. Right. And then somebody's like, you want to go hit the Vietnamese sandwich place? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then they tell me you can get a whole sandwich for and it's like the best sandwich you've ever had.
Banh mi is so good.
So good. good.
My college town, Carbondale, Illinois, has the best Thai food place I've ever had in my life.
You did
in Southern Illinois, Thai food.
Where'd they come from?
There's a university there.
Yes,
in Carbondale that I
university. Yeah, that's where I went to college.
Oh, look at you! I wouldn't have thought you did that.
Ma'am,
what do you have a degree in?
Communications. It's pointless.
Look, you're using it.
Pointless. We're literally using it.
That's true.
You are communicating.
You did the sound engineering for this whole flipping thing.
No, you're right. But I did sort of.
You've typed up pages.
I did type up pages. Yeah. You know what? I am using my degree. Thanks, SIUC.
It is.
Don't ask me for money.
Whenever Ashley's like, "Man, I can't believe I fully taught myself how to podcast and edit and do all this," I'm like, "That is literally what you did in school. It does make sense."
So you kind of already answered this question I had for you, because I saw on October 20th you're headlining the Hollywood Improv with a show called Horror Nerd. So are you not a huge horror movie fan?
Not only am I not a horror... They've only asked me to headline this show because I was on American Horror Story. And the girl was like, I'm such... please. I was like, okay, but listen, I'm not...
But listen, I don't have
What I'm going to talk about is what a pussy I am. Because I don't like... Here's the thing. I can scare the shit out of myself. I don't need your help. I don't need you to put those images in my head because I see them a lot.
I'm scared already.
I saw a preview for this La Brea show. Hello, I don't need to see this shit. But the earth just opens up on La Brea and they end up falling through the earth. And then they're in another reality. They don't really die. But I have dreams where I am falling. We're driving and all of a sudden we're off the mountain. And I'm like, well, we're about to crash. We're clearly, and it's the moments right before that happens. And so that kind of stuff scares me. I don't want to see it. Yeah. I don't want to reiterate that in my head. I don't want to keep that image alive for myself. I probably shouldn't have even just said it out loud. But I mean,
I'm going to manifest it.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the kind of thing that I'm like, okay, I have to go watch 10 episodes of Ted Lasso and 10 more of Schitt's Creek just to get myself
your brain
into a happy place. I did a lot of microdosing over the pandemic. It wasn't something I knew existed. And then somebody was like, you can take small amounts of hallucinogenic mushrooms every single day. And I was like, what?
Excuse me?
Well, you know what? I'm not doing anything for 15 months or so. So let's just get this guy. I didn't do it for very long. I really only did it for about 2 months. And I didn't do it every day.
Did you notice a positive change?
It really reset my happy button. I had gotten to a place.
I've always wanted to do it.
I had just gotten to a place where and I don't know if you guys remember, I did it summer before this past one. So the summer of 2020, where I'm sure you remember, it felt like the world was on fire.
Oh, it sure did.
We were having literally the physically hottest days ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was constant protesting in the streets.
Mm-hmm.
On every street. It wasn't even they're protesting downtown. No, bitch, they're in your yard.
Yeah.
They're right here.
They were
right here. Every day. It's all of this. And I was one of those people that turned on the news right when they woke up in the morning. Mm-hmm. And you start
God only knows what happened
last night. You're living the fucking horror story. Exactly. Yeah. What did this maniac do while I was sleeping?
Seriously, it felt like a nightmare every single day.
It felt like I was living a horror story for so long. And that summer, and you couldn't get away from it, and we were all cooped up, and I was scared that I was going to get this. I'm like, did I go through all of this to die of a fucking cold? What is happening? This is really what it all amounts up to. You start just really taking it all in, and I was just really getting into a place and into a headspace of nothing made me happy. Nothing gave me joy. You could have told me you just won the lottery, and I'd be like, okay,
all right.
That's fine. I just had nothing.
I think we were all there. We talked about that on the show before, where it was literally the Pentagon were aliens exist, and we're like, fine, I don't.
Whatever.
Yeah, I can't. Murder hornets, great.
Sure.
I couldn't take any more information. I couldn't handle any more stress, and I just shut down. I was the same way.
And it was so. I'm not that person. Anytime anybody in the past has said to me I'm depressed, I'm like, snap the fuck out, girl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never really had patience or understanding for what it is to truly chemically feel like you're never going to be happy again.
Yeah.
And that hit me. And I was like, oh, A, I've been an asshole to people who really are struggling with something. And then B, how
do people
I do?
live like this?
What is the thing that what can I do to get out of this? A friend of mine was like, well, I got this guy and he's helping me hook up and we're microdosing and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I loved mushrooms when I was in college.
You know what? Drugs are pretty tight.
I lived in the South. They were real available because it rained a lot and there was cows everywhere. So I was like into them, but I haven't done them in a really long time.
Yeah.
And it was a microdose. It was a very small amount that you didn't even know until I was like, oh wait.
I feel lighter.
I don't have pain in my bones. I don't feel heavy. Oh, that's funny. You know what I mean? It just starts slowly kind of waking you up. But then also, there were nights where maybe I took more than I should have, and me and the dog would have long conversations.
I left the micro out, and I just dozed.
I learned this dog, she wanted her food bowl lifted up just a little higher. She didn't like bending all the way down, but until she told me, I didn't know. So
you had to hear her voice.
I put her bowl up on a phone book, and now she's so much happier with me. But I mean, it really was that. It really did just kind of reset me. And the last time I did it was, I don't know if you remember the day that it was the hottest day it's ever been on planet Earth here in Los Angeles. And it was in like October.
Yeah.
And I had, instead of getting my microdose, I had gotten a chocolate bar with the mushrooms in it. And my friend was like, just take half. You just need half. You're going to be fine. Just half. So I would take the half. But it was so hot. I thought, well, this is just going to melt in my pocket.
I better just eat it.
I better
eat
it.
Let me
so
just
I'd go ahead and eat the whole thing.
Oh,
and then we'd go to the beach. We walked to the beach. And my girl said, you for 3 hours rocked back and forth on the beach telling yourself you were going to be okay.
Oh, my.
And we had just finished, we rewatched all of Game of Thrones during the pandemic. So we had just finished the whole thing, like all of Game of Thrones the night before. I take all these mushrooms. We go to the beach. I'm rocking back and forth like, you're okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Like talking to myself. But in my head, it was Dracarys. Do you understand?
Yes.
Like, all I could see was fire. It was this bitch on a dragon setting everything on fire.
And
there
were
were fire trucks down by the water because there were so many people and it was so hot. So everything just kept reiterating that. You have to walk down to that water. It's like an incline. It's not like, boom, you're there. Yeah. It's work. It's exercise. And girl, I'm coming back. And I'm still all fucked up on it, but we're trying to walk back up to my house, and I'm on the incline, and I'm just like, I'm crying. I am crying because I feel the pain of everything that's happening around me. Like, maybe I'm telling my girlfriend, I'm like, you don't understand. These people are in pain. And she's like, okay.
And she's like, this is exactly why I said take half.
She's like, hey, look, there's a fruit stand right there. Look, there's a fruit stand. Let's go get you some
fruit.
fruit.
Look, hey, there's a fruit stand in Westeros.
Yes. So she sits me down on a little, like, stone ledge that's there by the park, by the water. She sets me there. She goes and gets me some fruit. She comes back with this big cup of fruit with all this tahini and big bottle of water. And I'm just like, I'm eating all the fruit and the juice is just dripping down
and
my whole
face. You don't even care.
I don't care. I'm chugging the water like a maniac. And then she's like, and she just let me like absorb all the hydration, I guess, for a few minutes. And then she goes, okay, can we walk back home now? And I was like, okay. And she's like, hold your water, hold your fruit. Like,
you need that friend.
I'm holding my stuff. And we just walked home like in quiet silence the whole way. It's probably another 20 minutes to the house. We just walked home in silence. We came up here. I took a shower. I put on pajamas and I slept for 2 days. And that's the last time. And I will never do it again.
Lesson number 1 for this episode, always have a drug guide.
Your friend was the hero that entire time. I was just going to say, you have to have a guide. You have to have a friend
spirit
that's
guide.
watching you.
I am a huge believer. If you asked me what is the one piece of advice you would give people, it is buddy system.
Buddy system.
Have a freaking buddy with you anytime you're going to do something like that. For anything.
If I ever had kids, that's what I would tell them. Like, hey, you want to experiment with drugs? Like, do it in a safe place and do it with at least one person who's not participating, who can help you
talk you through it
when situations get hairy, because they're gonna
100%
for someone. Maybe it's not you, maybe it's Ted, but they're gonna get weird, and you need someone there to be like, it's all right.
It's okay, and we're
in America.
Don't run up to the cop and tell him you're on acid. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Please.
We're just gonna drink some juice. You're gonna be fine.
It might drip down your face, but it's okay.
So always have a buddy, and
always have a buddy.
Always have some juice. Juice is very comforting to me.
You did offer me at least 3 different juices when I walked in, so I do think that
I'm a juice person, and if
the
it's
pink
not
lemonade
juice,
sounds good.
I also have pink lemon, like little packets and drops, and like I don't want to drink plain water.
You're not a
I want
water gal.
something
Not
in
around.
it. So
That's so great.
So I'm constantly doing that. But yeah, I felt like all of 2020 was such a horrific nightmare for me that like the thought of watching something scary on TV does not
appeal
to you
in the
slightest.
That's kind of so
happy.
Horror has always been my comfort food because that's what I watched when I was a kid. So horror to me is like watching, Wizard of Oz for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Mine with that was like drama, where it's like, do you want to watch Schindler's List? And I was like, I'd rather die because I can't.
Yeah.
Do you want to watch this really sad show that just got out? No.
Yep.
Nope.
I was with you. I
Any
actually
drama
watched
that came out in the
more
last 2
horror
years,
movies during
nothing.
quarantine than like ever in my life. It's the same way. Yeah, I was like, it brought me so much peace, and in a way, it was like, hey, they have it much worse. She's getting chased with a chainsaw. My life's all right.
My life's all right. I still have my legs.
Yeah. I also don't like suspensefully scary stuff. Like even something like Silence of the Lambs or Jagged Edge or these movies that are meant to be like suspenseful, but it's still anytime there's like a kind of moment, I don't want it. No, thank you.
Not there for the jump scare.
I'm a fat person. I don't need a shock to the ticker like that.
I need everything to be
shock to my heart.
Very level.
Yeah, can we just keep this? I was just watching The Starling.
Oh, I can't bring myself to it. So it's so sad.
I didn't know it was going to be sad. Nobody told me it was going to be sad. It had a beautiful little bird in the beginning. I'm like, oh, it's going to be sweet. And it's all sweet for like 10 minutes. And then it's like, dun, dun, dun. And I'm like,
no, come on.
Turn it off. And then,
you had to see it through.
Literally, I had a friend over, my little neighbor friend. She was over, and we had ordered some food during the movie. And it got there right at the end where you're figuring it all out, right? And she's like, I'm gonna go get the food. And I'm like, good, because I'm about to ugly cry. I'm about to sob.
I don't need you to see me.
I need you to exit
in my house while this is happening.
When you're trying to hold it in, your body starts convulsing.
It was so, but that to me feels better.
You might want a cathartic cry.
Well, good. Now that we know that you don't like scary stuff, Lauren, why don't you tell us about some haunted places?
Why don't I just scare the pants off you?
In Louisiana.
Well, because that's what's so scary about Louisiana.
There's haunts everywhere.
There's so much of this occult.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not, like here, it's kind of addressed. It's like, oh, there's an occult bookshop, and there's a this and a that. It's like compartmentalized and like made a thing. In Louisiana, it's just these stories that you thought for a long time were true because someone told you they know the person it happened to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Even though, no, they don't.
Right. No, they don't. They can't.
It's just, it could all be just myths, but there's some fun stories.
All right, let's hear it. Tell me.
I'm bringing it to you. The good news is I did some haunts, but I also did just some weird places. So it's not all scary. You're getting off the hook. And I tried to avoid Nolans. Only because we've talked about it a lot on the show, and everyone knows about it. They know the place. There's so many famous spots
New Orleans, if you look at Louisiana as like a boot,
which
right?
That's the only way I can see it.
New Orleans is in the toe.
Right.
And Lake Charles, where I'm from, is in the heel.
Okay.
Right next to Texas. Okay. So it's also got all that like Texas kind of ghost story in it, like
like they're like
that old west kind of
different ghosts,
cowboys,
shit whistling around,
that is interesting. Different ghosts all over Louisiana,
different ghosts for different folks.
So we're starting in Alexandria, Louisiana. Have you heard of it?
Oh, honey, I lost my virginity in Alexandria.
No way!
Sure did.
What a perfect
in a hotel
place.
room attached to the mall that had a carousel inside of it.
So it was the classiest of days.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Alexandria, where you lose your virginity in Louisiana.
I'll never forget that. Alexandria.
Big old redneck.
That's what I'm going to think
God,
of.
was he a redneck, this guy? Oh, my God.
It's so funny. So it looks like it's basically smack dab in the middle of the state. Okay. And it is home to one of the most haunted places in the state called the Bentley Hotel. And
that wasn't the hotel, was it?
That would be so funny.
I would shit myself.
I'd
like,
have to
that's
leave
the
if you said
one
that was where
I
it
was.
It was not that hotel.
I don't think this one's attached to a carousel. So we love talking about haunted hotels on the show, so I, of course, had to do a hotel because they're just so fun. But the Hotel Bentley is supposedly just full of spooks. It was constructed back in 1907 by a man named Joseph Bentley. He was this wealthy, eccentric, weird guy. Everyone just thought he was a little bizarre. He got denied service at another hotel, and because he was so rich, he's like, well, I'll just open my own then.
Oh,
so
cool.
I did it.
Yeah.
So that was this guy.
Don't you
this
wish?
Wealthy.
That happened on something.
I'm sure it happens all the time, which is
They're
insane to me.
Because people
turned
are just
away,
rich.
and the husband walks in and buys the whole hotel because they had turned away his wife because she had gotten there before him.
That sounds right.
It's the beginning of a TV show. Okay, keep going. This
I
is
was going to say,
So
is this...
that's just how wealthy this
what's
guy
that?
is.
What's that movie with the prostitute and Richard Gere? Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman. How could you forget that name?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm lost.
You know, the prostitute.
The sex worker.
The sex
Go
worker,
on.
yes. The Bentley opened to the public in 1908, and in 1933, Joseph Bentley decided to expand even more so he could just live there and be there all the time because he
Cool.
just wanted to reside there and kind of show everyone, like, I'm rich, I'm here, hello.
And now he's dead and he haunts the place?
You guessed it. But not just him. But also...
Why would he leave?
Yeah. So he's staying at the hotel. He dies in the hotel in his suite. But also, this hotel just had a lot of people come through it. And the reason we always talk about haunted hotels on this show is because they're almost always hotels where, like, so much life has happened there. And you think, like, what was happening in those rooms that we don't know about back in the day? Because during World War II, the U.S. troops were trained in the area. And the commanders of these troops, Dwight Eisenhower and George S. Patton, were staying at the hotel. Also, John Wayne, Henry Kissinger were known to stay at the hotel. A lot of people came
Do
through
you
there.
think that if John Wayne and Henry Kissinger
We're haunting a
were
place.
haunting a place, it's going to be in Alexandria, Louisiana?
It's
Come
not.
on, man. You know how many hotels those two stay in? That's the most ridiculous thing. That's somebody trying to sell you a ticket.
John Wayne is like, did you hear that comedian Jen Kober lost her virginity in Alexandria?
Did you
We need
hear?
to, guys, that's where we need to be. Clearly, anyone can get fucked in Alexandria. Even a ghost.
Lord. No, I don't even think these guys are known to stay there. It was more just a note to throw in, like, that this was a place to be. And a lot
it
of
was
parties took
happening.
place here. It was happening, and some things, like, could have happened under the radar that we didn't know about during these parties. There might have been
Also, the
some
site
mob
of one
activity.
of the big. Well, there was a lot of Klan activity in old
Well,
Alexandria.
It could have been some of
You know what I'm
that.
saying? Could have that's what always makes me think there's ghosts because
Oh,
they killed so
absolutely.
many people that were like
Not
fighting
deserving
during
to be.
their death. Yeah.
Yeah,
Leaving that bad
killed.
energy, like we're talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that
All right,
absolutely
I
could
buy
have been
that
happening.
for $1.
So the hotel did well for years, but in the 1960s, it closed for business until a decade later. It reopened under new ownership and then closed again in the 80s, only to reopen again in the 90s, and then sold again in 2004. And then 2012, it opened again and is the luxury hotel that we know today that also has private residential suites. So it has been renovated through
Oh,
and
so people
through.
live there still today?
People can still live there and
If
still stay
you
there and work
said
there.
to
and
the
all things.
people that live in Louisiana,
Yeah.
is there a luxury hotel in Alexandria? I guarantee goddamn to you, everybody'd say no.
No, there's
nobody
not.
knows.
Not that I know of.
No, I think they just built it. You talking about that Hilton Garden Inn? Is that what you're talking about? Like it's not.
It's a tad luxe.
I feel like that's.
No,
Well,
the
that
word
is
luxury
why-
means nothing because they say
Right.
that for apartment complexes here in LA, and you walk in, you're like, "What is luxury about this?" They're like,
Yeah.
"Luxury."
What
too
do you-
bad.
how do you
too-
describe
I grew up in a
luxury?
third world country. It's luxury.
Sure,
yes.
You know, if you're
It's all
coming
about
from
perspective.
Ghana, I bet you're gonna think it's real
Yeah,
nice.
you're going to be
Sure.
like, what is this paradise?
100%.
If you're coming from Kafui, Louisiana, that's a real town.
It's all in the eye of the beholder.
You're there. You're fine.
So it went through a lot of renovations and all these changes, but again, we've discussed this on the show before. Sometimes that
Kicks
if
up
there's
some
it
activity.
kicks things up while the renovations are being made. So it could have been making Joseph Bentley a little mad or any
You
of the
mean
other
the
people there.
The ghosts are like in the ceiling tiles that are
And then they get
falling,
knocked
and then-
down.
I feel like they just
I'm in
come
my
in and they're
bathroom.
like, this is a bad choice. Like,
I hate
you
this.
are tacky.
Why would you use taffeta on these curtains?
100%. So it's believed that Joseph Bentley has been there since his death in his suite in 1938, and his presence has been supposedly seen on the 3rd and 5th floor, and that is also where most of the voices and the footsteps are heard. This has been reported by guests and staff. Some guests have even claimed to see the hotel owner in the flesh, because some people just say they hear things or, feel a cold breeze. They see what looks like the owner in the flesh walking up and down those halls. But the restaurant wait staff says they've seen sightings of someone looking exactly like him in the lounge area as well, in, the big restaurant downstairs, and also in the Mirror Bar Lounge, which is a part of it.
Eat.
Yeah,
Ghost gotta eat.
He wants a drink.
He wants a spirit.
Jen, ladies
and that's all the time we have this
Thank
week
you
for
and
Keep
good
It
night.
Weird.
Tip your
We
waitress
did
and
it.
try the veal.
We did it.
So he's been spotted in the restaurant, the 3rd and the 5th floor, but mostly people just complain of a really eerie and dark feeling in the bar area. They don't always see him. Only a few people have said
Alexandria.
that. But it's just Louisiana that makes you feel that way.
When you drive into Alexandria, it's like you're going from color into black and white. It's like 1952 everywhere.
This is why we gotta
That
have
is
a
true.
local on these, so we could be like this luxury hotel, and
She's
she
like,
could be like,
"You're
it's
kidding."
garbage.
We needed you to tell us, because I've seen pictures of this place, but they make the pictures look
Of
extra
course they
nice.
do.
So
They use a wide angle lens.
Smoke and mirrors.
Some of the other ghosts supposedly haunting the place are a spirit of a young woman who fell to her death in an elevator shaft.
There's always a young woman who fell to her death. Women
And
be tripping.
they be tripping.
Bitches be falling.
Or are they pushed by asshole men? We don't know. It
Oh
could be-
shit!
it
Yeah,
could be
that's
any of
true.
those.
Men do kill a lot of women.
They do.
Lest we forget.
So she might be wandering around the halls of the Bentley Hotel. Ghosts have also heard a woman's voice either speaking or in rare cases singing.
Mm-hmm.
And figures are also seen peeking from the mezzanine railings above the center of the grand staircase. It could be sneaky kids. It could be sneaky ghost kids. We're just going to have to go do an investigation.
I wouldn't put it past any hotel in Louisiana to have a staff of people like... You go outside of room 215 and start singing.
Start singing?
You know what I mean? Like, hey, we're going to have an argument in this closet, and it's going to sound to like these 4 rooms around
Like
this
they're
closet.
playing into the room.
Yeah, like they're
It's
kind of...
actually brilliant.
It's so smart.
Because you know that maybe not half, but you know that a good portion of
they're coming
people
for
there
the
are
ghost
going
experience.
because this website or several websites said this is the most haunted place in Alexandria.
We don't know. Mostly, I wanted to bring this up because we love talking about hotels, and also to say, Ashley, I want to go investigate it
Hell yeah.
immediately because I want to see what we can find.
Even if
it is
even
the
if
staff.
it's like taking masks off like Scooby-Doo style.
Right. Like,
Where it's
whoop.
like, it was the hotelier the whole time.
It was the maid.
Share?
Betty White.
What are you doing here? No, I think it would be really fun to go, but who knows? There's a lot of things happening there, and
I feel like that should be one day of a bigger trip. You don't want to go spend too much time in Alexandria.
From what I've heard today in the last 20 minutes about Alexandria, we'll pass through.
we'll just pass on our way.
We'll
to
go
somewhere
through
else. Yeah.
Alexandria
Go
to somewhere else.
Yeah, we won't stay for long. Okay, I'm going to go away from hauntings and just go to something that I thought was bizarre. So there's this place called, I just scrolled away. Oh, it's called Lake Peigneur.
Wait, spell it?
Peigneur.
Well, it's a French word, so
Peigneur.
Peigneur. It's a lake that is about 200 feet deep, the deepest in Louisiana, and it's in the southern part of the state, but the lake actually used to only be about 10 feet deep. And it's
That's
crazy.
not a lake at all.
How this, yeah, it was
That's
just
a puddle.
It was basically a puddle. It was wide, but it wasn't deep. And so
Okay,
everyone
okay.
just knew it was like this little lake. But then on the morning of November 21st, 1980, a Texaco oil rig team was on the lake,
Oh, geez.
and they were on their rig, and the drill suddenly seized up just below the surface. And they're like, well, this is crazy. This is only a 10-foot lake. What is this stuck in? So the 12 men were baffled, and when they couldn't free the drill, things started to pop and shake. The platform was starting to tilt into the water, so they're alarmed. They're jumping out into the water. They're swimming to the shore. They're just panicking. So they're like, this doesn't feel right. Then they get to the shore, they look back, and basically all of the lake water just starts like funneling in where their
What?
drilling rig was and like going into itself and causing this huge whirlpool. So they had struck a salt mine that was below the lake. And so their like $5 million rig vanishes into the lake.
Good.
It hit the Diamond
God.
Crystal salt line. The tunnels were under this lake. And so now water is rushing into the salt mine that people are actively working in. Luckily, all 50 workers were able to rush out and like get into the elevator in time, and no one died. Like everyone got away, including, you know,
That's
the
miracle.
Texaco people and also the miners. But like houses got sucked into it. It started sucking in
What
things
year
that
was
were
this?
nearby the lake. 81.
This was in the 80s?
No,
What
80.
part of Louisiana is this?
It's in the south. I looked it up on a map at one point, but I think I exited out of it. It's in the south. It looks like it's maybe like somewhat nearby New Orleans, but not quite.
What? That is terrifying.
Yeah, I was like, you can look it up while we're discussing
I'm
this.
looking.
But
So it was sucking up houses.
yeah,
and-
lake water just starts rushing into it, but then it starts like taking other things with it. It's the swirling vortex, like trees. A barge got sucked into it, a tugboat, a dock, a parking lot. Like some of the island got sucked in.
Parking lot.
Like it was just taking everything with it. It used to drain into Vermilion Bay via the Decambre Canal. Delcambre Canal. But
They call it Delcam.
Delcam Canal. But once the lake had emptied into the mine, the canal changed direction, and then salt water from the Gulf of Mexico started emptying then into this lake. So now what was just this freshwater 10-foot lake is now a 200-foot deep saltwater lake.
Wow.
So it changed the ecosystem around it, swallowed up all this stuff. Now there's saltwater creatures that can live in there. And it went on for
Sharks?
days. It caused this huge temporary 164-foot waterfall, the tallest ever seen in the state. 400-foot geysers were bursting out of it, with compressed air.
So it's about 200 miles directly south of Alexandria
Okay.
in Louisiana.
All right. Well,
So
that'll
it's
be our
right
next
below
stop.
Lafayette.
So that'll be where we head next to
Below
see.
Lafayette. Vermilion Bay is that little bay right there, and then
Yeah,
the
that's
Gulf
what it
of
was
Mexico's
emptying
right
into.
there,
So then it started.
So
went
then once it,
backwards.
yeah, I was going to
it
say,
changed
once enough of it
directions.
went
Well,
out.
like
Because
Yes.
that's
It
how
started going
powerful
back
the
up.
whirlpool was. And then the
Wow.
mine shaft was like all the compressed air coming out of that was then shooting these geysers into the air. So there was a huge waterfall, huge geysers, and it all lasted for about 3 days and then finally settled. But again, now it's changed forever. It's this saltwater
Now it's a completely
lake
different
with
place.
The
yeah,
nearest
totally different
city
ecosystem.
to that lake is New Iberia, Louisiana, which is the witchcraft capital of the world.
So that's where we're
Excuse
going.
me.
actually. And then we'll stop at this.
It's a
lake.
it's a witchcraft. It's known for witches. I don't know what else to say.
Right, we'll go
I don't
explore
know what
it.
else to say.
It's
Salem's
one of those
cousin.
places- yeah, it's like one of
Salem's
those
southern
places where they're
cousin.
Like, oh, they had a problem there. And when I say problem, please remember that I went to Catholic school. There was a problem in that town with devil worshipping and this witchcraft, kind of a paganism, like where the police got involved because cats went missing,
Right.
And
And they
you
were
know
like,
what I mean?
well,
Yeah. So
right.
they found all and I think it was just a bunch of kids.
I was going to
doing
say, was it actual?
the shit that kids do,
Yeah.
like and trying to kind of scare the patriarchy,
Right.
but
Totally.
it worked. They were.
It worked.
Mhm. It
I
did something.
do not go to New Iberia for that reason.
Wow.
It's where the witches live.
Did the witches do this to this lake?
Maybe they did.
Okay.
They caused this giant whirlpool. I like that theory. Let's
I
just
do
pile it
too.
on. So you can still go to the lake this day and visit it. I mean, obviously it just looks like a lake. People mostly go though because, and I pulled up this picture for you guys to see, all that you can see is like this house that was swallowed up by it, that chimney sticking out. That's the chimney of their house, and it's all, it's rusted. It's been there since the 80s, but that's like what is left of the town that was, maybe not the
Wow.
town, but the few
Right.
houses that were next to it. It's just that chimney sticking out. And so you can see like, oh, that has a history. There's a story there.
Is it one of those lakes where you can like go scuba diving and see like cemeteries and houses
you'd
and
be
shit?
able to see
no,
the stuff, but I don't know
clearly
if
you
want to
all
go
have
in there.
never been to Louisiana. Clearly, because the water in Louisiana is not something you can see through. Bitches, it's brown. It's coffee. Can you see through coffee? I don't fucking think so. No. You
Literally.
go down there with all your goggles and your fucking tanks and whatever you got. You ain't seeing nothing but shit water.
That's true. You'll just end up like feeling around with
Yeah,
your
like, I
hands.
know. Like, I think this is a door, but no, you will not see anything.
That's fair.
Yeah, but no, I just thought that was a crazy thing. I was like, that's a wild,
Yeah, no,
a
that's
wild
insane.
situation. And obviously, the drilling company has had to pay like millions of dollars in a
Oh, yeah,
settlement
were they
to
in
the
trouble
mine
a little
business and
bit?
the other local businesses. Yeah, so they settled out of court.
What are you gonna give me for this? Ah!
I know.
Yeah.
All my
owed a
chip
lot
is
of money.
sticking up right there.
Another weird one that I don't have to go super into because it's like, it kind of explains itself, but I've always wanted to walk around here is the abandoned Six Flags. And that one is in New Orleans. I said I was avoiding New Orleans, but there's an abandoned Six
Yeah.
Flags that got hit by
Why?
Hurricane Katrina.
Oh.
And there were
that makes
plans
sense.
for it for years, but they just kept getting scrapped. And so it's been left there
So
abandoned.
it never opened.
Never
There's too
reopened.
much drinking in New Orleans for you to need to get on a fucking roller coaster.
That's true.
That is
They don't
the
need it
truth.
there.
There's also in Baton Rouge, which is about an hour west of New Orleans. It's the capital. There's an abandoned water park there.
Ooh.
So it's all these water slides, but it's dry. So to me, it's like
looks
sadder.
eerie.
Yeah,
than
way sadder.
Right? Because there's just,
No, you're
it
right.
also is just, so, but somebody told me that somebody just bought it. And I'm like, it's not like they would have to, there's no way those slides still work.
Right.
Yeah.
They'd
It's
have
been
to tear it
closed.
all
They
down.
would have to
Yeah,
gut
they
it,
would have
yeah.
to start over. So I wonder what they're going to do with the property because I don't know that they're going to make it a water
Yeah, I'm
park
very
or
curious.
something again.
Well, and that's what's happening with Six Flags is there were so many years where somebody said some of the rides are salvageable, very few, but some of them are. The rest are too rusted, too torn apart from the hurricane. But for a while, it was like, let's try to put another park in here. But I think the latest that I heard is that they are just going to gut it and completely change it.
Yeah.
And it actually sounds who was it? Drew Brees, the athlete. He's retired
I was
now.
going to say, I know
Retired
that.
football player Drew Brees and current Saints linebacker Demario Davis want to financially back the new plan. So apparently they have a proposal on the table for something.
I think
but
Jen's
it's gonna
right,
get
though.
torn down.
I feel like maybe that was the higher power, whether you want to call it God or something else, being like, New Orleans doesn't need this.
Like,
We-
there's I would get
there's
if they
too much
put in some
debauchery.
sort of like activity center,
Right.
right? Like with Drew Brees, I could see them putting in like a trampoline park with like go-karts and
Yeah.
and an arcade and batting cages, like some
make
kind
it
of
family
big,
friendly
yeah,
and-
some kind of
yeah.
big conglomeration like that. But
do
to
you know
me,
much
just
barf-
a Six Flags with rides and
Yeah.
you know how many can you shoot the water gun into the
Yeah.
duck's mouth to make the balloon pop?
Yeah, to
I
get
don't
your
think that's-
stuffed
no.
animal.
I don't think those kind of entertainment venues have the appeal that they had when we were kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
not
think
the
so
same
either.
anymore. I,
I
would
think
agree
people
with that,
want
yeah.
to be active with their families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of,
Well, and also I'm just thinking, like, if you're in New Orleans, what do you go to New Orleans for? You don't go for Six Flags.
Right.
No.
So
it's not a family-friendly
it's not super
destination.
family
No.
friendly,
really.
I thought that
and
was an
just the
interesting spot
amount
for
of
it.
It's
like,
like Vegas. Like, you don't
Yeah.
just leave the kids with mama.
the
Yeah.
amount of vomit on the rides
Yep.
in New Orleans. I just feel like
Yeah,
because
'cause
you know
everyone be
people are
drinking
gonna
all
go, yeah,
That's what I
down
always
Bourbon
say.
Street.
I say,
Yeah.
you know what I love about Bourbon Street is you can just
smell
you
the
can smell the
vomit.
fresh smell of beignets and puke. And then the piss right wafts over you, and it's just it's
just
how
beautiful.
you know. That's what
You know
home
you're
smells
home,
like
you
to
know?
me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you know.
I know. It seems like we're not going to get our chance to walk around there because it is going to get gutted, but I always thought it just looked cool. Like you were saying about the water park, like it's like kind of fun to look at, seeing the rusted rides.
There's
like
a
the
word
colors
for
have
that.
And then
changed.
like the grass has like grown
I was
all
gonna say,
into
there's
the...
a photo of one of the roller coasters and the trees are like through the tracks now.
Yeah.
And then that creepy like old man who you'd always see on the Six Flags commercials, there's a statue of him that's really rusted, but you just see his big glasses.
Yeah.
And so he's just this rusty, creepy thing smiling at you. So people have snuck in and taken
There's a
pictures.
word
but
for that.
It's patrolled pretty well.
There's a word for the feeling you get when you see an abandoned thing,
like the
like an
sensation
abandoned
has
park.
a name.
Yeah, it has a name,
Oh.
and it's the same. I think it's very similar to when you see submerged things. Like some people get really creeped out when they see like a submerged, like the Titanic, like photos of the Titanic.
I get that feeling.
And it's not necessarily that, a bunch of people died, because sometimes it's like something fell in the ocean or there's a statue under the water. Some people legitimately can't look. It's almost like trypophobia with the holes, like how some people have that. They can't look at things that are submerged or abandoned.
I can't look at photos. It freaks me out. It just makes me feel this feeling of dread. And it isn't the sadness of like, people died on the Titanic.
No, it's just like,
a weird
I can't look
thing
at that.
We were talking about this the other day because I was telling my friend I don't like blood, I don't like gore. And she's like, "You're on American Horror." I'm like, I know it doesn't make sense, but it's
a job.
I can't watch that show. And she said to me, "But aren't you constantly watching Dateline and, all this true crime stuff?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "Isn't there blood in that?" I go, "Yeah, but it's like in a still picture. Yeah. It's not happening. There's no action to it."
I get
right?
that.
It's not that I can't see gory things. I don't have like a weak stomach. But like, it's that like, if you showed me a picture of somebody all mangled up, I'd be like, okay. And I could probably get that out of my head, but I guess watching it happen in motion. My friend was just like, "I need you to start watching that show, Truth Be Told, with Octavia Spencer."
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to start it. I started. In the first 15 seconds, he's got like a little sharp tool and he's carving a little wooden doll, and the thing goes through his finger. It goes through his finger. I turned it off. I was like, I can't watch that. She's like, "Come on, that's not sorry.
Like, I know
I got a heads up.
I had to turn it off. I cannot watch it. But if I watched a Dateline and they showed blood spattered all over a wall or a dead body in something, that's not the same to me.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, I get that.
That actually makes sense.
I mean, that's sort of, I don't get it with like horror. Like, it doesn't bother me. But in real life, like if I sliced my thumb open, I'd throw up. Mm-hmm. I would vomit.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Why?
I fainted at a doctor's appointment with my friend. It wasn't even my appointment. She got her finger pricked. That tiny little prick where like the smallest drop of blood comes out. I fainted and I woke up to smelling salts and I was mortified.
I have this story. My dad's a doctor and we were in his office and I had a paronychia, like a little growth on the side of my cuticle. Like it had gotten infected. It was like green. Like you could see there was something in it.
That hurt so bad.
So my dad's like, "Oh, you got a little paronychia. I'm going to take you down to the office," right? We go down to his office on a weekend. I'm sitting on his little stool that spins around. And he just puts a little alcohol on it and gets a little needle and just pops it. And the stuff comes out. And I just went, "Uh-oh." And I fucking
and down you fell.
Hit the floor. When I came to, I had pissed myself.
Oh my God.
I mean, I couldn't have been more than 12 years old.
I was gonna say,
I'd never passed out before, nothing. I wouldn't have called myself a squeamish kid. But just seeing that happen to me and knowing that was coming out of me.
Yeah.
Even though I couldn't feel it because he had numbed it.
Yeah. Doesn't
Still,
matter.
you just see it and you start analyzing it.
I hit the dirt.
I hit the deck.
I hit the dirt. And my little brother was there, sadly. And so now that's his. Remember that time you passed out and pissed your pants?
He'll never let you live it down.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I do remember that.
I do remember that. Thank you. I wish I could forget.
Remember how little your dick used to be? Yeah, remember that? I remember changing your diaper and thinking, my pinky's bigger than that. So I get
it. Okay, I'm going to skip for the sake of time to the one from your hometown because I wanted to make sure we got to that. And there's just so many haunts in Louisiana. It's like it could take all day.
We could do this all day.
So this is the Calcasieu Courthouse in the city of Lake Charles. Calcasieu. I had to look up the pronunciation.
In which I have been charged.
You have?
Yes.
So you've been in this courthouse.
Yep, I pled no contest.
Hey.
Did it work?
It did. He was like, it's the same as pleading guilty. And that I wanted to be like, no, it's not. I didn't do this. I just want this to fucking end. But I was just like,
get it over with.
Yes, sir.
Because when you are in court,
let
me
breathe. Stay polite.
Do it.
My lawyer, if I outburst one more time, my lawyer is going to
drop
drop me as a client.
Well, little did you know, while you were in the Calcasieu Courthouse in Lake Charles, that it is extremely haunted.
Ooh, I know that.
This one has...
on the bench are dead.
I believe it. This one has even more stories than the hotel. Like, this has been, like, everybody says this is haunted pretty much. So, the story behind it It's believed to be haunted by a woman named Toni Jo Henry. She was born Annie Beatrice McQuiston, but she ended up...
McQuistons, y'all own all the bars in town. That's good.
Oh, so it's like that's a known family.
Okay.
She got married and changed her name later in life, but she was a murderer and the only female to die in Louisiana's electric chair in history.
Wow.
Who'd she kill?
So, Toni was a sex worker with a drug problem. She had, a rough
In Louisiana?
childhood.
Wait, hold on one second.
Shut your mouth. That does not even track.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
That doesn't add up. She fell in she fell in love with a man named Claude Henry. He was nicknamed the Cowboy, and she got clean, so things looked good for a bit.
Well, you got to get clean when you're with Claude.
But then you got to get clean with Claude. The two married, but then shortly after, Claude Henry was arrested on murder charges. He had murdered a guy he got into a bar fight with, it sounds like, and he was sentenced to 50 years in prison. But Toni Jo stole a getaway car with a friend of hers in hopes to get her man out of prison. She was going to fight for him.
That's a ride or die bitch.
And to get the car, they murdered the owner of the car.
Okay.
An innocent bystander.
This is the most Lake Charles fucking story I have ever heard.
Feels like a Louisiana tale.
It's like you're strumming my pain with your fingers.
So they dump the body in a ditch. They steal the car. They're off to try and save her husband. They were not successful, of course.
Well,
he was still in prison, and they were found and arrested and charged with the murder because they just, they didn't cover their tracks. They were in a hurry. They weren't doing the best things. She was charged with murder in the Calcasieu courthouse, and she was sentenced to death as she bragged about the incident and boldly said she did what she had to do to free her boo.
I had to get my man out of that there prison. So,
what was
I
I
had
supposed
to kill
to
this
do?
moron to make it happen.
She seemed to have this, creepy energy about her. That's why people think she's the one haunting the courthouse, because she was smiling, had this, sinister look about her. She didn't feel any remorse. And even...
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry is her
sorry.
hashtag. Even the day of her execution, she seemed to be in a really good mood, not showing remorse. The only time she complained was when they said they had to cut her hair for her execution. And then she was like, bitch,
Wow.
I don't want you to cut my hair.
That's
She was
hilarious.
pure evil. And then, only woman to die in the electric chair. Super unsettling. Everyone who witnessed the execution said it was so disturbing and she was just so bizarre. So today, people who work in or have visited the courthouse claim to have heard a female voice whispering and in rare cases even screaming at the top of her lungs.
Wow.
There's a constant feeling, mostly by the employees, of being watched, and it feels like someone is always over their shoulder even when they're alone in a room, usually in the evening, because of course it has to be as scary as possible. Lights flicker, machines turn on and off.
That courthouse closes the fuck down at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm talking
In
like
the
the guy
evening.
who's there late, sending an
The
email.
janitor.
Yeah, the guy sweeping.
Or the
The janitor sweeping up. That poor dumb son of a bitch. Listen, here's the truth. When I was in that building, it was very creepy, and it did feel like people were watching you, but there were also armed guards every 5
So they
feet.
were watching you.
There's a lot of surveillance as you come in. There's a lot of pat downs, it's not like you go through a metal detector and you're fine.
Right.
Like at the airport. No. At the courthouse, they'll frisk you. They make you take everything out. They will pat you down. It's a thing. And I think it's because the people of Louisiana are armed. And
Yes.
True.
And,
They might have some in their
this is the
pocket.
redneck way. If you wrong me, I will shoot you.
Yeah.
And
So if you're going to court,
and I think those,
that would be a time.
I think those judges and bailiffs and lawyers and such, I bet they get a lot of death threats.
Probably.
Because real rednecks like to announce what they're gonna do, right? So I'm gonna kill that dumb son. You better. I'm gonna wring your little neck. I'm gonna tear you a new double-wide 2-bedroom asshole when I'm done with. They're very specific. And then when that exact thing happens to you, they're like, "Well, why you think it was me?"
yeah.
Well,
Why you think I did it?
Well,
The exact thing.
you
Sir,
because
he
of what
died.
you
He
said.
died with a mailbox in his head, and you swore you were gonna kill
Put a
him with a
mailbox.
mailbox.
That was
So
a direct quote.
We
Direct
feel
quote
like
from you.
we've got this one pretty figured
we
out.
feel like this is airtight.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. You are being watched by cameras, so that could be the sensation. But the biggest reports, which I thought was interesting, are electrical issues, which she died in the electric chair. So I was like, okay, I see.
chum.
Yeah.
When did she die?
It was 1942.
1942.
And
okay,
now
it
the
was
lights
this
are
century.
flickering.
I mean, last century.
Machines turn on and off on their own. Like brand new equipment will shut down out of nowhere.
Who turned this Xerox on? Who did
This
that?
is brand new.
Tony.
Tony, was it you? There's also smells of burning hair and also smells of cheap perfume. So it's Tony Joe. So that is the Calcasieu Courthouse in your hometown.
That was a very specific smell, too.
Yes,
burning
like you
hair.
know when it's burning hair. And it's the employees who are saying it. They're the ones who are there the most. So I kind of believe in it.
Y'all see this fly that's flying around the
He
room,
won't
right?
leave me be.
It's a big one.
He's a big one.
Yeah,
You know why
awesome.
he's in here? Because it's in my closet right in there. I have a tennis racket that is electric.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
I hit it
Electric
and
fly
I
swatter?
fry the... I electrocute
Just,
so
like,
many... Like when I get that out, my dog like goes in the back. She's like, I don't even want to be
I don't
want
to be here for this murder.
But these big flies, when you get them on that racket, they stick a little, and then you start smelling that smell of burning fly.
Ooh.
Means you got him good.
And I let it burn because I want them other ones to smell it.
Yeah,
like,
you want
don't
the
come
family
in this
to
fucking
know.
House.
Yeah,
You can. There's other open windows for you.
I've got a murder
I have
machine.
a murder racket.
Speaking of murder, you did say you had some murder stories surrounding your hometown.
I just saw. So, do you remember that woman who she left her husband to marry a guy who was also married, and he left his wife to marry her, and then both of their spouses ended up dead, and then the kids ended up dead, and they were like off in Hawaii or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the guy she killed to marry the preacher man was from Lake Charles. He was a guy
Wow.
who he was older than me, so we didn't know each other like growing up or
But you
anything.
knew
But I
of him.
knew him, and I know his parents.
No way.
What the hell was their names? The name of that?
Lori and I forget his name, but they were in like that weird church, and they
Yes.
thought that they were.
She thought she was like
she
Jesus.
thought-
No.
they thought that they were.
They definitely had a
and
God
that the
complex.
the kids
to them.
were zombies, and that's why they had to
Yeah.
kill the kids.
Like God
Did
told
we
them to do
figure
it.
out-
Yes.
Did
We
we
talked
ever-
about this, didn't we?
I don't
Or
remember
maybe-
if we talked about it on the show, but
or
I
just
mean,
in
we've
person.
talked about
Yeah.
it. But did they ever find the kids?
Yeah, dead in the yard.
Yes, it was in the
Damn.
backyard, wasn't it? The whole time. Wait,
whole
and
time.
where did they...
The brother had done it. Her brother.
Yeah, because I was
killed
like,
them.
somehow it wasn't connected to them, so they were able to be, at first, be like, no, it wasn't. We've
All
been
of our
here.
true crime listener fans.
Are
are
yelling
like-
at us right now.
No, I get it. And if I were a better person, I would have written down their names. But I know her
I
name.
can't remember their name.
Her name was
either.
Lori.
Were they still in Louisiana, or where were they?
They had gone somewhere else, I thought.
They were in Arizona.
Maybe.
Arizona, I believe.
Ugh.
They were going between Utah and Arizona, and they were in Hawaii for a little while, and blah blah blah. So, but the guy that she had married was from the one who
Lake
ended up getting killed was
Charles.
from Lake Charles.
Damn.
That
And
is
so
wild. That story
I'm
was
always
insane.
so interested when I find out, like, the connections to this a little town.
Yeah.
Hi guys, Ashley here, literally just popping by to say that we are talking about the Lori Vallow Chad Daybell case. If you don't know about that one, lose yourself in Google. It's crazy. Also, I know a ton of true crime podcasts have covered it, probably all of them. My Favorite Murder, Morbid, Dr. Phil. There's also a podcast called The Followers, Madness of Two, that is apparently all about it. And if you do know about this case, sorry, we are dumb. Current update is that they have been charged with the murders of both children, JJ and Tylee. Their trial has been delayed due to mental health concerns with Lori, but Chad wants to be tried now. He doesn't want to wait, but they don't want to try him separately because they know they'll just try and point the finger at one another. They want one trial for both defendants. So they are waiting for Lori to be mentally capable of standing trial. Also, I'm so sorry for the mic bumping in this episode. I know it's horrible and annoying, and I feel really bad about it, but we were recording in a completely different space with some different equipment, and there's nothing I can do. Please continue to love me. See you soon.
The guy, Tony Kushner is from there. He wrote Angels in America. He wrote
shit, yeah.
Lincoln.
He's from
the
Lake
movie.
Charles?
Yes.
Dang.
He just wrote the West Side Story that Spielberg did.
Yeah.
That's
He's
amazing.
from Lake Charles, and he's Jewish. There are
Wow.
only like 10 Jews
We
in
only
town.
have 10 of them.
You know what I mean? Like
There's only a
my family accounts for 5, and then there were like 5 others.
We make up half
And
the town.
His family was Jewish, and his father was the conductor of the symphony in our little town.
Wow.
I can't believe we had a symphony, but we did.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And so I spent Passover over at his parents' house, but he was already out of the house, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw him in a grocery store once when I was at home, and I walked up to him and I was like, you know, my name is Jen Kober. I'm an actress. I'm from here, and you are brilliant. Like I can't believe you're in the. Why are you in a produce section of an Albertsons? What's happening right now? Like
what are you doing here?
This is amazing. Your work has affected me, and the fact that you are from the same place that I'm from has affected me.
Yeah,
the same way that affects you in a positive way. Hearing someone that you know that you be wrapped up in this big old weird murdery thing feels
just
creepy in
die.
the same way.
Yeah.
almost feels like a violation a little bit of like,
it's
but I
like,
knew
this
him
kid-
and that's my town.
And you always assume that people from if you heard about somebody from either of your little small towns, you'd be like, I'm sure they were, didn't deserve whatever terrible thing happened to them.
Yeah,
they seem
yeah.
like
They
good,
seem
fine
fine.
Good small
people.
town.
Yeah.
And so it's always that thought of like, if it could be them, it could be me.
Oh, yeah.
Oof.
And
Yes.
It really gets
so
under
it's
your skin.
really-
It's
yeah.
very spooky.
Well, I mean, I went to the same college as Macho Man Randy Savage, so whose work has spoken to
Somebody's
me.
bragging.
Whose work has spoken to me on so many different levels.
Just your complete idol. Oh, that is actually really amazing.
He
That's
really
a good
was
connection.
a very entertaining wrestler.
Yeah.
Damn it. He was
Put on a
I'm
good
writing-
incredible.
I'm writing a pilot about wrestling, and that whole world is so fascinating.
Mhm.
It is. I just started watching. I found on, I think, the Peacock app for anyone listening. I think it's Peacock. They have all of the Halloween Havocs, which was WCW, the
Oh,
Halloween
that's
special.
fun.
They have like 1996, 95, 94.
The
Like they
best
have
years.
all of them. Yeah. So I just watched Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Hulk versus Macho Man Randy Savage. And it was
Fantastic.
from 1996.
Oh,
and it
man.
was the best. And
Brings
it's
back all the
Halloween
feels.
themed.
And
Yeah.
it came on.
Perfect.
That always came on Saturday mornings, which was just my favorite time because we
Yeah.
got to sleep late. And when you woke up, there were cartoons, and I could just eat as many bowls of cereal as I wanted until my mama woke up. And then
sugar.
all of the sugar cereal, and then
You got to watch a bunch of dudes on
Wrestling
so
came
much
on,
cocaine.
Their eyes
And you're
bulging
young,
out
so
of
you
their
didn't
head.
realize
Yeah,
that's
I
what's
didn't even know
happening.
what
But they were like,
that
and you're like, this guy's fun.
I like his
You
energy.
don't realize she's an addict.
And then you
Right.
grow up and you're like, he
You
was on.
grow up
Good time.
and their eyes are like
He was
shaking.
on so
You're like,
much
"Wait a
cocaine he
second." Yeah.
shouldn't have been alive.
You definitely snorted cocaine
As
and
a
walked
child, you're
right
like,
out
these
to the
guys
library.
are a
Living
good
off
time.
Oh man, that's good.
I love it.
That is all the time though that we have this week.
Oh, we didn't get to your voodoo.
My voodoo
is still going to be featured on the show. Next week, actually, we have a witchcraft episode. Our good friend Laura LaRue, who you may remember from our reincarnation episode, is coming on, and we're going to be talking herbs, spells, crystals, candle magic, and voodoo.
Can I offer up a doll that looks like my mother if you're going to pierce something?
If you need to
Is that possible?
demonstrate anything,
Yes.
yeah, of course,
Okay,
of
great.
course.
Use
I'll
her
just
as
put
an
it,
example.
I brought my whole suitcase. I'll just pop it in there and
Great.
I'll bring it back to you
Oh.
whenever you
Just
need
a little
it.
Yeah.
back pain. I don't want her, she doesn't have to die or anything.
No, just
yet.
something annoying.
But I mean,
Make her
yeah.
kneecap hurt a little
Yeah.
bit or something. I don't know.
You know what?
Something
Yeah.
minor.
Yeah,
Dude.
or hair loss would be lovely. Something.
a buzzing in her ear
Oh.
that never stops.
Constant buzzing. That's a good one.
Yeah. Or just like gas. Just like
Yeah.
so much gas. Oh, that'd be so
But you'll
good.
never stop hearing
Oh.
about it.
True.
Really, you will suffer.
Yeah, you'll get the call.
back to Louisiana. Thank you so much for finally coming on the show.
Yeah.
I've wanted
you came to me.
I did.
Yes.
Yes.
But then
And it
you
was the
served
best,
us
and
in
you
the
have a
nicest way,
crafty.
guys. She had
It's
all
amazing.
these snacks out.
Look,
She's incredible.
I'm on TV. I know how
She
very
knows what a
integral
crafty looks like,
A craft
okay?
table
You know
is
what a good
to
crafty
good
is.
work. If just knowing that there's like a chocolate dip granola bar waiting for
Right
you on
there.
that table
Yeah.
after you
You're like,
get
I'll
these
get up
lines
early.
right.
Yeah.
It feels right.
It feels good. It feels like I can get through anything. If
Yes.
that chewy dips
Yes.
is at the
If
is
it's
behind
right
the
there
finish
I
waiting
can
on
line.
do it.
You guys, listeners, you can follow Jen on Instagram at Jen Kober. That's Kober. But do you have anything else you want to plug?
Well,
at the moment?
I'm doing that show October 20th at
Yes,
the
for our
at the
LA
Improv. So if
listeners.
you
So
love
exciting.
horror and gore and such, the story I'm telling really is a little bit gory and stuff because it's something I didn't want to see that I ended up seeing.
Ooh,
So it's
well.
a pretty funny story.
But the whole show is themed towards
It's
horror
horror
movies.
themed, yes,
That'll be
yes. So
fun.
that'll be super, super fun.
I love it.
After that, I'm really heading out to do a lot of. I know this is going to sound bougie, but I'm doing some island gigs. I'm playing in the Dominican Republic.
Oh,
and,
no big.
Cancun, Turks and Caicos,
Jeez.
the Bahamas, Cabo. So
Right
that
as this weather
sounds
starts to cool down,
lovely.
you're hitting
I
the
know.
road.
I'm gonna
You're
escape
like,
the
fuck this
cold.
what
place.
happened is they opened everything up, and I travel with all these. These are all gay travel groups that hire me to go on these trips.
Mhm.
So you can only hold back a gay so long
Yeah.
before they're like,
They're like, listen, we are
Let-
vaxxed.
Don't get wet.
we are vaxxed. And
What
we
our
are
campers are.
ready.
Yep. I am ready
Party.
to party.
I have like 3 weeks of just all over the place kind of shows and travel by myself with strangers.
That's
So
be
it's
a
all,
blast.
it is. It's always very enlightening. When I think about it, when I'm like, oh, I'm going by myself, it's kind of like, meh. But then when I get there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad that I can just do whatever the hell I want.
You can do whatever
Yeah.
you
And I'm
want.
not
You don't
having to
have
be like,
freedom.
can we take a nap?
Right.
Do you mind if today we don't? If it, I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about
You have to
anybody
check
else,
in
you
with
know what I
whoever
mean?
made
Like,
the
yeah.
itinerary.
Yeah.
on the
It's
trip.
It's
That's the
just
worst.
me on the road, and then I text and talk to and FaceTime people from an island, and
Yeah.
From an island
Look
that
cute.
I'm on,
Beautiful,
getting paid to be here.
crystal clear water.
But yeah,
It's
if you
perfect.
guys follow her on Instagram, you're always posting information on your shows, and obviously your website, which I believe is just jenkober.com, right?
it is
JenKober.com has her whole calendar there. So you definitely want to watch her if she comes to your town because she's so funny.
You're marvelous.
You're-
And you can see me on Hulu on American Horror Story. It's
Yes,
all,
you can.
It's all on the
As
Hulu if you
the
want to go back
manager.
and check that out.
The manager.
And I'm on a bunch of Netflix stuff. Dead to Me. I did 2 episodes of The Purge. That's another scary one. I was so scared
You were
at
a
the costume fitting.
Police officer,
They had all
right?
those. I was a
Detective?
detective.
Yeah.
They had all the.
I demoted
masks.
you again.
You
You damn it.
Getting
They had all the masks that they wear on Purge
Yep.
night, like hanging in the costume thing, and I was like, "Is there somewhere else
Is there
I can
somewhere else
change?
I can try
because
on
I
my
feel I'm
clothes?"
being watched."
I'm gonna need a different area.
So, Dead to Me, The Purge, AJ and the Queen, The
Yes.
Righteous Gemstone,
Oh,
Yes, I
another good
remember.
one.
The
You
Middle,
worked at the
Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly.
Yes. There's
I
a season.
love that show.
There's a season 2 coming out as well. Just
Yes.
saying. And Black Monday. I just did an episode of Black Monday on Showtime
Okay.
with
One of my
Don
friends
Cheadle
directed that show.
and
Yes.
and Regina Hall. So fantastic.
Very
So good.
cool.
I hear you were in a jail cell.
I was. I know,
With
and that was
Regina.
a stretch for me, let me tell you. I had to really call up on all the times I'd been in jail.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you guys for listening to the show. Make sure you're following us on social media as well at Keep It Weirdcast. Check out our Patreon at www.patreon. 3 W's. Make sure you put 3 W's at the beginning of that. www.patreon.com/keepitweirdpodcast. And check out our merch on sale at www.etsy.com/shop/keepitweirdpodcast. Grab yourself a t-shirt, tank top, or hoodie. Jen, what would be a good sign-off this week?
I think we should leave them with our 2 lessons, which is don't do drugs by yourself,
No, drive
right?
alone.
Do drugs with a buddy.
With a guide.
With a buddy.
And only put curses on your mother if she doesn't talk to you.
That's right. And only
If you
use
won't get the
voodoo dolls
call.
on people that can't
That can't complain
contact
to
Cannot
you.
contact you in any way.
Perfect. And
And
also,
Keep it weird.
do it.
Sorry, I'm just going to take these out so I don't have to rapper noise. There we go. Now we're good. That would have been so annoying. You're like, hi, weirdos. Okay, I'm ready.